Good afternoon. Sharing this video out of obedience. I don't really do this. I don't post on YouTube. But I feel called to share the testimony of what I've been going through because I believe that the Lord is doing this not just in my life, but in lives of many of his children right now. Some of you might be feeling a shift. Some of you might be pretty much exactly where I'm at and been in this kind of isolated wilderness season. He's trying to get your attention. He's trying to open your eyes and your ears to hear him, to see him, and get you to wake up. So I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to share what I've been going through. I won't be sharing any of the promises that he's given to me because those are for me, and what you've heard is for you. So that part won't be included. But I would say it was around, honestly, the first time I felt the shift happening was around 2023. And God was speaking very heavily on the transference of wealth and how, the shift is coming. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. And I was excited for the word because like many of us, I was in a situation where I could always use more. Living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to cover bills, things like that. So I was looking for it in that moment and it didn't come, and I would honestly say that it kind of like slipped to the back of my mind. But needless to say, I've never given up on God. I've always, I haven't always been consistent with reading my word, and even in my prayer life, but I walk with him, I talk with him, even if it's not, what anybody thinks it should be. I never gave up my faith in God. And I would say around December of 2023, I was made to leave the place that I was renting because it was in a trust. I was subletting a home that was in a trust, and the trust holder wanted to sell. So we had to leave very last minute, and I ended up moving back in with my mother. I stayed with her from December to June of 2024. In June of 2024, we went on a family trip and to Chicago to visit my sister. And I wasn't operating in the spirit. I would definitely say that I was very worldly. I was drinking a lot, and we all were drinking a lot and partying and things like that. And God kind of shook me in a way. He got my attention in a way that isn't like, I wouldn't even say it's not normal, because I am one of those stubborn children where he has to shake and make uncomfortable to get to move. So that's pretty much exactly what he did. It was a very, very uncomfortable situation where I should have been the most comfortable, surrounded by nothing but family. I ended up having a anxiety attack and leaving that trip by myself when I flew in with 3 of my family members. So in that, he spoke to me before I got back to California. He spoke to me that he was separating me and that he needed to do something through me. So in order to do that, he had to remove me from my family because I was making them an idol. I held their word with more regard than I did the word of God, which he does not like. We know that he is a jealous God. So I hear that, and I ended up going back to my son's father, who I had separated from in 2022, the beginning of 2023. And the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023. And I came back here. It's just based off of some of the things that God had spoken to me while I was still away from California. I came back with my own set of rules and instructions to my son's father. My biggest thing was that we would get married because I couldn't continue to live in sin with him. I couldn't continue to be convicted every time we were intimate, or anytime that we, anytime I hear the Lord speak that what I'm doing is wrong. I know that shacking up is wrong. I know these things. So that was my biggest condition. I ended up I came back in July. I came back to my son's father in July, and we ended up getting pregnant in July. I know. It is what it is. We ended up getting pregnant with twins. And in 2021, we conceived twins, but I ended up miscarrying. So I just saw this as a kind of redemption thing. And also, I just can't continue to tear my body down. I know that we're not married. I know that I have the convictions that I have. But God has allowed this to happen, and I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm getting in his way. Sidebar, sorry, I just forgot. But yes, we ended up getting pregnant with twins, and it was like 2 weeks after I got back, I ended up getting pregnant. And so I go through the entire pregnancy. The pregnancy is fine. It's high risk, of course, because it's twins, but the girls are good. Everything went well. I ended up being able to deliver them in the way that I wanted to, considering the fact that I had a cesarean section with my son. But God's hand was on that. He really blessed me with my daughters. And, that's the sidebar. The sidebar is, when I was pregnant with my son in 2019, God gave me a dream, and I wasn't even in the dream. I saw my son's father, right? And this is before we have any children. So I saw him, and he was it looked like a stadium, maybe like a baseball stadium. And there were 3 children with him. There was one that looked to be older, I would say around 7 or 8 years old. And there were 2 that looked to be about the same age. They were all boys. And when I woke up from that dream, I remember telling my son's father that God is going to give us 3 children, and it looks like a set of twins. This is before we conceived the first set of twins. This, mind you, my son is still in my womb. Like I haven't even had a single child yet. So, I knew kind of that we would end up having 3 children is what I'm trying to say. The twins don't surprise me. The fact that we got pregnant again doesn't surprise me, because God has already revealed it to me that we would have 3 children. One would be slightly older or significantly older, considering what, you consider that being. I would say the twins in my dream were maybe about 3, and the older child was maybe about 7 or 8 years old. So between 4 and 5 years difference. Sure enough, my son was 5 years old, or is 5 years old currently, when I had my daughters. My daughters are now 7 months old. So yes, I'm trying to say that what he spoke to me before I returned to California is slowly coming to pass. It's just not happening in the way that I saw it, or I thought would happen. Fast forwarding to July of 2025, working, and I just returned back to work from maternity leave after having my daughters. And I think I had been back to work for maybe like 5 weeks. And those entire 5 weeks, God has just he was just talking to me. We would just be conversing when I'm driving. Kind of like if you didn't have, he said, if you didn't have any, like if you had the resources and you had the time, what would you do? Talking about the things that he's asked me or called me to start. Businesses, projects, things like that. If you had the time, if you had the money, what would you do? And, I'm just talking back casually. I don't know. We'll see, and this whole time I can feel something happening. There were things happening at my job that were just like telltale signs that it wasn't going to last, despite my boss and my boss's boss and my boss's boss's boss trying to convince us otherwise. if you had eyes, you could see that we were in a financial strait. It was not going to last much longer. So I'm seeing all these things. I'm just having casual conversation, but I'm not putting the two and the two together because I wasn't in tune. I wasn't tuned into God and really seeking him, So I was just kind of like living like I am with my sons and my children's father, just living with him. You know what I mean? Not really having a relationship with him, not being personal, just being close, I guess. So the company ends up abruptly going under. What happened was the day before everything fell through, my boss's boss came in and told me that there was a 70% chance that tomorrow we would have no job. I was the manager of my department, and so when he says it to me, I instantly think about everybody that reports to me, and the lives that are going to be impacted, let alone my own. So I take it. He said, if you see this email, then they're shutting down. That evening, I received the email that there was a mandatory meeting that everybody in the company must attend, whether they were on PTO or not. And I knew that it was over. So July ends. I hadn't, the next day, they shut down the business pretty much abruptly. Like while we're working, they just say, everybody get up and get out. And I was fine. I didn't take it too bad because I just come to learn just through different trials that I've had with God is that I would freak out and instantly, forget all of the times before that God has come through for me. So this time I approached it different. I look at when I go through trials like, okay, if I'm going through this again, there must be something that I'm missing. There must be something that I missed the last time. And the first thing that comes to mind is my response. When I would go through, I would respond by freaking out and crying and throwing fits and just being completely immature, emotionally, spiritually, and everything. So I took it to God and just put my trust in him that he would take care and supply my needs. When I got home after we were asked to leave, I remembered that I hadn't taken my paid family leave. I had my daughters on March 30th. Exactly 6 weeks later, I was back at work. I didn't take any bonding time. So that time was still available and my right. So I went ahead and I filed for paid family leave. I am not one that had been unemployed for a long time. I had been working at that company for almost 8 years. And before that, I was employed. I hadn't been without a job or needing to lean or depend on government assistance in a long time. So I just didn't know a lot of things. So I filed the paid family leave the day that we got laid off. The next day, I filed for unemployment thinking that I needed to file as soon as possible in order to be accepted or whatever the case may be. Fast forwarding, that's not the case. It ended up leading into my paid family leave funds, which would have been more than what unemployment would pay out. It ended up putting those on hold because you can't receive both at the same time. Long story short, I ended up waiting about a month and a half for any money to come through. So I had to do a lot of footwork and traveling to multiple EDD offices to try to get my funds released. Then they finally were. My funds were released. I immediately make a payment on my car note because it had been 2 months since I made a payment. So I know I need to make this payment. I call them and I make an almost $1,500 payment just to get me back current. And they were going to put 2 months. They had said that they could put 2 months of what I owed on the end of my term and bring me back up to current. And I can just put the rest to the next coming month. I wanted to do that because I'm unemployed. I don't know when my next funds are. Once this money is gone, as far as I know, I'm not going to have anything coming in. So I was trying to set myself up to be ahead of my next car note. Fast forwarding, some time goes by and God starts to speak to me and is encouraging me or telling me to fast. So the first fast he told me to do was a 7-day fast from 7 to 7. I did not take that seriously. Those 7 days went by, and a few days after that week had passed, God says, okay, now you need to do a 3-day dry fast. You need to do a 3-day dry fast, do an Esther fast. And I failed on the first day, right? And I can feel the conviction of the Holy Spirit. So I'm like beating myself up about it. I call my pastor and I tell him, and then I don't know, I was expecting to kind of like not be convicted or condemned for failing, but more so like encouraged to try again. You know what I mean? But I felt like what I received was more so to console my flesh. You don't feel bad. It's okay. Maybe you didn't hear that. Maybe you just need to wait until he says, tells you when, pray on it kind of thing. So I didn't try again. And I asked God, I said, what are the consequences for not being obedient? 2 to 3 days later, I'm cleaning my house. It's a Sunday. I'm cleaning my house, and my son's father looks outside and he says, "Where is your car at?" And I'm like, I instantly know that they had came and took this car. They came and took the car. And I don't know. I wouldn't say defeat, but I was just like, of course this would happen. I mean, I asked and he gave me the answer, right? Mind you, I just paid to be current. So they shouldn't have taken this car. This could only have been God. So I took it as that. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to stress about it. God is trying to get my attention, is how I received that. And it took a lot of time to kind of like get over my own thoughts, my own ambition, my own plans, because clearly he was trying to get my attention because he wants to do something in me. I shut up. I surrendered. And then I started to hear him speak more clearly. I felt called to read my word more and more. I'm not going to lie. There was I just randomly, I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't post, but I do watch. And he would start to put like prophetic words up on my suggestions just out of nowhere. And now it's to the point now where that's all I get pretty much. Any of the content that I was following before, any of the people that I was subscribed to, I can't see any of their videos because God is speaking so heavy, like he's just interrupting anything that's not of him right now. So I watched a couple videos and there were a couple themes that stuck out to me and that led me to kind of get in my word more and get out of. Let me clarify. I got consumed with some of those messages. I was just binging them. You know what I mean? And he started to speak to me and he said, the blessing isn't in the phone, it's in the earth. I need you to meet me in my word. So I started to do that. And I'm still in that moment right now. So I don't really know what else to say. But I guess that's the end of the testimony. This is where I am now. I'm leaning on him. I am being Mary and not Martha. I'm trying to slow down on the busy work and just sit at his feet and be ready to receive what he has for me. I do feel him trying to call me into position for what he has for me. And I believe that this is one of the first steps. So I'm doing this out of obedience. This is part of where I'm at right now. And then I'll just end, I guess, my testimony there. I know this is all over the place. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just talking because I feel that's what he's telling me to do. So I'll end that there. Please forgive the all aboutness of it all. It's a little all over the place, but I hope that you at least get what I was trying to communicate. And I'll end with an encouragement. If you are in this season, lean on him. If you are hearing him, do what he says. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Just do it. No matter how strange, how crazy it is. Write the vision. Make it plain. He is taking you somewhere. He is setting you up for what he has purposed for you. One of the things that I feel like I can say is that he has placed something inside of me and inside of you that he needs to use during this time. That transference of wealth has come back up. So that's happening. It's not just with me. It's in the land. It's in his body. You know, he's moving in his body because we are approaching the end. So there's going to be a rising up of his people to do his bid, to do his work in preparation for for Christ coming back. So I want to encourage you. You're not crazy. I thought I was crazy. You're not crazy. Just listen. Stay still. Stay silent. Don't share too much. And be blessed. I love you all. I pray that this helps somebody. Amen.